Hey folks, it's your girl Lexi Mahari, and I am back with another episode of Buzzworthy Chit Chat, where I like to share my opinion on the latest pop culture news, current events, and so much more. But before we dive in, please take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the notification bell so that you can be notified each time I upload a brand new video. So we are back for yet another reality television review, and that is The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 12, Trust Planning Issues. Well, if you don't know, what I like to do here is to highlight the top 3 moments of each and every episode of reality television that I provide a review for. And so, of course, RHOA will be no different. And so before we dive into the top 3 moments, I do have to give an honorable mention to who but for the shady producers. Let's call this episode what it was. It was a filler episode. And so with filler episodes, you need a little bit of entertainment to keep people watching, at least periodically, or coming back to the channel. And so our shady producers last night did not disappoint, starting with the conversation that initiated between Todd and Candy. So in the episode last night, we have Todd and Candy talking through their wealth management strategy. What happens if one or both of them die? Where will the money go? Who will manage the money? I was actually really surprised that Candy and Todd did not have anything in order given their portfolio, let's just say, of businesses. And I would imagine investments and such. So, you have Candy and Todd talking through with the girls, how they would, see things going potentially. You have Todd, who's the practical guy. I think I'm very much in line with Todd on his approach as relates to, releasing the money in stages to these ladies, to these girls, I should say, should something happen to both of them. And he makes a very good argument that, they could easily make some bad investments and then they have no money as a result. So he said, if you got your money in stages, you still have money that's coming to you. You have time to learn. You do what you do with what you get. Of course, Kayla is quiet. I think she has learned to that's her father's way to deal with it. But Riley, on the other hand, you see her face kind of start to contort, and she speaks up saying, she doesn't agree with that she would want her money, because there's a business or businesses that she would want to launch in her 20s. And you can see that Candy would go along with that. And we know that Candy is a lot more lax with her daughter than Todd is with his. So you definitely have a battle of the minds and the wills as it relates to how they would both navigate releasing the money to the girls. The shady producers. So, before they get into this discussion, we have the producers who who put up a display of the money coming into the marriage, meaning who had the money as they came into the marriage, and or assets versus what they have accumulated since marriage. And I was, I'm sitting there like, no, don't do it. But of course they did it. I kind of would like to think Todd had more than the condo, but of course he didn't have Candy money. But even if he didn't, boy, I'm like, come on, producers, y'all got it out for Candy, don't you? So anyway, just my little bonus clip. Now, Todd took great offense to his daughter and stepdaughter and Candy all saying that they did not think that he would be as, lenient or approachable as Candy, or that he would execute in the same manner that Candy would, in releasing funds if the girls ever came to him for money, that he would take a hard line and, most likely push back. And we've seen that over the years with Todd and his own daughter. So I found it interesting that he took such offense to the fact that no one seemed to trust that he would, function in the same capacity as Candy. Now, he did come around later, acknowledged that he likely would not, and then told her that she needed to be very explicit in how it is she would expect to see things handled should she be the one to pass first. Now, our next shady production moment is Marlo once again proclaiming a woman on The Real Housewives of Atlanta is 60 years old. Why did she say Sheree looked good for her age? She's 60 years old, and the producer yells in the background, she's 52. Sorry, I thought that was funny. It kind of took me out. But that's my tee-hee-hee. Let's get into these top 3 moments of the night. Number 3 is Marlo gets counseling. Let me just say kudos to Marlo. I was cheering her on, so happy to see her step into the counselor's office to sit down on the chair to get some help. You know, it's definitely has to be difficult for Marlo. She admits that she never planned on being a parent for reasons obvious to her own upbringing, her own experiences, and her and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, I think her concern and fear that she would mother or parent as her mother did. So hey, hats off to Marlo in this episode for getting counseling. Of course, we all wish she had done it sooner, but better late than never. And hopefully she'll get the boys into counseling as well. Now, in this visit, Marlo shares the story of, how the boys came to be in her custody 2 to 3 years ago, and how she has been, trying to raise them. Her struggles, I think, are actually very common struggles that parents have in trying to raise their kids. Unfortunately, yes, there are a lot of books out there, but there is no one handbook that is a one size fits all. And so, Marlo explains the challenges that she's facing and that she is not their mother, but she is still trying to raise them in a way that allows her to, quote, be their pal, which is, more in the auntie category, and at the same time garner their respect. And I know there are a lot of opinions out there about being your child's friend versus being a parent to your child. And so, Marlo is dealing with all of those challenges that I think a lot of parents deal with. And on top of that, these are not children that she has raised up from birth. These are kids that she's getting in their preteen and teen years. So I think her struggles are very real, very valid. Do I still agree with what she did? As I said previously, I'll give a caveat to say that, I think it's good that she knew her limits and that she needed to take a break. I'm just concerned that she took a 30-day break, and, of course, there's no counseling or anything in there for those boys and her to talk through whatever their issues are. And, as you may have heard in the episode, she talks about how she has concerns with, I think, the way her sister is allowing them to get through each day. You've got one kid who apparently is just laying around playing roadblocks, I think is what she said, and, not brushing his teeth or, taking care of his hygiene or any of that kind of stuff. And so she's got concerns on that front. But, it's kind of hard to critique the sister who already has 4 other kids. I think you've put your sister into her own version of survival mode, which is to allow those boys to just kind of do whatever it is that maybe keeps them happy and or quiet, right? Keeps them low key. So, again, kudos to Marlo, however, for going in and getting the help, through someone that Sheree recommended. And, I hope that maybe we get to see the evolution of this counseling that she has decided to get into. The number 2 moment of this week's episode has to be Kenya telling Sanya bye, or maybe not saying goodbye so much. The needed hang up when Sanya calls Kenya to advise her that the trip to Jamaica will be a couples only type of trip. Come on now. Why are you saying this to a woman who clearly is still going through a divorce? And I did not hear her emphasizing the couple aspect as hard with Marlo and Sheree, who are also both single women. Yes, she kind of gave them an overview of what the trip was going to be about, but I also had an issue with how she was really driving it home to Kenya. And I agree with Kenya that her tone was condescending, as if to say, if you don't come to the trip if you don't bring someone with you. So I struggled with that conversation as much as Kenya. It's like, girl, are you watching the show? Usually half of the women on the show are not actually married. I am all for the couples trips, but come on now. Let's be real. Let's be realistic. That's all I'm saying. Now, I know you're wondering, should Kenya have hung up on Sanya? Probably not. It was rude, it was crude, but a quick bye was definitely warranted in this situation. So let's get into the number one moment of this episode, and that being Sheree and Drew doing what they do, and that has been arguing all season long. Now, look, folks. Drew did instigate this whole situation by perpetuating the rumors from her assistant that we've heard about Sheree over the years, her not paying people for their services and so on and so forth. So it's only fair game that Sheree is, doing battle with Drew in the various ways that she is. I do take issue with her friend being her guard dog and mouthpiece for Sheree. I think Drew was right in saying that some people are throwing rocks and hiding their hands because her friend is that voice that is, pushing these rumors and saying the things that she is saying. About Drew, that background check is a whole lot and was too much for me. That kind of crossed the line. I think verbal rumors are what they are, but when you start pulling background checks and stuff, that's crazy. That would be like Drew going and pulling Sheree's credit report or something to that effect. I don't know what her credit report or credit score is, so I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying it's an invasion of privacy, right? So I do feel like that has gone a bit too far at this stage. And you know what? Drew was justified in throwing the bone because the friend accompanying them on the last episode to Blue Ridge, it was just too much, right? So fast forward to this episode as we talk about our top moment. It is definitely the exchange of insults between Drew and Sheree. Sheree tells Drew that she better hope she looks that good at her age. And of course, that's where we have the crazy statement by Marlo that Sheree looks good for 60 when she is in fact 52. Look, Sheree looks great for her age, so we cannot take that away from her by any stretch. But these two going back and forth about she said, it is getting to be a bit draining and exhausting to watch, and I kind of need for them to go ahead and make up. But, Candy does prompt Drew to sing Happy Birthday for Sheree. Take a listen to this.
Be the bigger person.
Happy birthday
that's to me?
to you.
Oh, wait, what is it for me?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Sheree. We love you, we love you, we love you.
And so Sheree then accepts it as her apology for all of her misdoings. Now, I don't believe that Drew by any stretch agrees that that's her apology. I did not see all of Watch What Happens Live, but the pieces that I caught, I did not hear any niceties flowing from Drew about Sheree. So I do believe there are clearly still some things going on there. So I do want to say that this episode, maybe not a whole lot going on in it, probably even could rate as a little bit boring at some parts, but I do believe we've got some interesting interactions coming up in the upcoming episode and trip to Jamaica. I will say that I am a little concerned that it looks like Sanya's husband is going to be addressing a female for how she is talking to his wife, and I just need the men to stay out of it. Let the women do what they do. If it's another man talking to your wife, then by all means stand up for your wife, but for this women stuff, stay out of it. Let them do what they do. All right, folks, that's all I got. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next video.